How's it going, YouTube? It's time for another video. This one we're going to call The Perspective of a Blind Man. And maybe you're sitting there saying, what's with that title? That doesn't make sense. You don't think about it, right? If you're standing and looking at a sunset, or you're standing looking at the mountains, you're standing looking at the ocean, or whatever it might be, right? And there's a blind person standing next to you, right? And you ask them, can you describe this to me? And they start saying a bunch of stuff, right? Describing something that they have an idea in their head. But it's nothing like what's in front of you. Shoot, they might be facing the other way. They don't even know. That's the perspective of a blind man that I'm talking about. Do you have that perspective in your life? You know, we say, man, I'm a good person. And you know what? If God's love, He's going to accept me. Or there's many ways to God. As long as we're good, as long as we are caring towards others, we're going to be good. It's not going to be a problem. This God that created everything, He'll accept us. That's what life is about. It's about being good. In our perspective, right? In our perspective, we say we're good. But just as that blind man, our perspective is false. Okay? Let me give you an analogy. And you know what? I like cars. And I like sports. I like all that guy's stuff. So I'm going to use an analogy of stuff I like, right? Let's say you need a car, right? You need a car because you have to drive a little ways to work every day. And you need a reliable car. So you go to the dealer, you're like, I'm going to buy a new car. I need a good, reliable car. That's what I need. You tell the salesman. He said, hey, I got just the thing for you. This is a reliable car. This is a good car. This is the car you need. This is a good car. And you say, fine, I'll buy it. Let's go. And you're all happy thinking, man, I got a good car. And in less than 31 days, in the first month, it breaks down enough to have to be towed back to the dealership to be fixed. So you could use it the next day. And then the next month, it breaks down again. And the next 31 days after that, it breaks down again. And so on and so forth till it's been a year and it's broke down 12 times enough to need to be towed. And it's broken little things more than that. Right? And you walk out to pick up your car so you can go drive it again, hope it doesn't break down on you again while you're driving to work. And you run into that salesman, and you look at him and you say, how could you sell me this car and tell me it's a good car? This ain't a good car. I keep on breaking down. And you tell him, I broke it down 12 times so far this year. And he says, you know what? 12 times in 365 days? That's like what? 4% maybe? 3%? That's not a lot. That's a good car. That's the car I told you were getting, right? But you look at him and you say, that's not a good car. In his perspective, it might be. But to you, it's not. It's not what you wanted. It's not what you need. It's not what's required in this case, right? Yeah, it's 12 times in 365 days, but it matters. You were expecting none in the entire year because you thought you were buying a good car. Are we that good car? Do we think we're good, but we're really not? We're really not. Let me read something. It's Revelations 3:17 through 18. It says, because you say I am rich and have become wealthy and have need of nothing, and do not know that you are wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. I counsel you to buy from me gold refined in the fire, that you may be rich, and white garments, that you may be clothed, that the shame of your nakedness may not be revealed. And anoint your eyes with eye salve, that you may see. God's saying, you think you're good. You think you're wealthy. But you don't know that you are wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. Your perspective is wrong. It's that of a blind man. You're staring the other way. That's what He's saying to you. We think we're a good person, and that how can a loving God send a good person to hell? But we're not good. If you sinned 12 times in a year, you might say, oh, I'm a good person. But if you had a car that broke down 12 times in a year, you wouldn't call it a good car. So how can you call yourself a good person? It's not true. It's a wrong perspective. It's a perspective that's in comparison to those around us. Oh, they're worse than me. Oh, look what they've done. It's not a perspective that's correct. Because the bar is not those around us. It's one, how we were created. We were created without sin, but we chose sin. And two, the other person that's the bar is Jesus Christ, and he came and he lived perfect. He lived a perfect life. And you say, well, why did he have to do that? Now I got to meet up to him. Well, if he didn't, you'd still be dead in your sin. You'd have no way. But Jesus came and he lived a perfect life to become the lamb, to become the sacrifice that was made in your place, to take your place. You see, sin, it kills us. It leads to death. It leads to separation from God. But you see, Jesus was put to death. He was separated from God. Not because he deserved it in any way, shape, or form, but because he loved us and he wanted to pay our price for our sin. He wanted to take our debt upon him. He wanted to take our punishment on him in our place. So I ask you, is your perspective right? You might think you're a good person, but I don't think you know the depth of your sin. I know, even me being saved, I don't know the depth of my sin. I can think, man, if I do this and this and this, I'll be a good person, but I'll still be wretched, miserable, blind, and naked. Unless I go to buy gold from Jesus Christ. Unless I go to him. Unless I receive his righteousness in my place. Right? It's the only way. It's the only way. You see, when we think of sin, if you're not saved, you might look and you say, yeah, I do stuff wrong. So all I gotta do is say some words because I know I do some stuff wrong and I say some words. But do you realize you need a Savior? And why? Do you realize that you're not good? You're so far from it. That your perspective is wrong. That nothing you can do in your life will allow you to attain salvation. Because when it comes down to it, that one bad thing you did, if it's only one, you could do good the rest of your life, and that one bad thing will still be there. When they look at your score, it will still be there, right? You can't do away with it. You need God's salvation because he didn't have that one thing. He didn't have that one thing that he did wrong. He lived a perfect life. And his righteousness is placed where we would be, right? When God looks at us, he sees Jesus' righteousness, not our sin. That is if you accept him, right? And you say, man, what do you mean I don't know the depth of my sin? Well, let me tell you something. If you've even sinned once, you've fallen short of God's glory, of what you were created for, of the bar that was set. You've fallen short of that. If you've even told one white lie, if you've even thought bad about a neighbor, if you've even coveted something or someone, or maybe you've not done none of that, but you failed to acknowledge that Jesus is Lord, that God created the heavens and the earth, that he loves you. If you've even failed to recognize Jesus Christ and who he is, that's sin. That's a lie. And you've fallen short. So I ask you, if you don't know God, but you want to know him today, you want to know, have your eyes open to the depth of your sin, the sin that no matter what you do, it's impossible for you to overcome. Because it's so deep. You see, I pray and I say, God, help me with this. Help me to overcome this sin. And you know, I might not overcome it until the day I see him face to face, right? But if I do overcome it for a time, I see all these other sins that I have not overcome. The depth of my sin is so deep, I can't even see the bottom. I have perspective that's blind. I can't see the bottom. So if you want Jesus Christ today, I'm telling you, cry out to him, say, Lord, I repent. I don't want to live this way no more, Lord. I want to change my ways. I want you to come in and live inside me, Lord, and give me the power to do that. Lord, I want you to be my king. I want you to be my friend. I want you to be with me everywhere. Lord, have mercy on me and save this wretched sinner. If you pray that, he'll come into your life. If you believe that, he'll come into your life and change you. But you have to choose that, right? Or maybe you've been saved for a long time, but man, you've lost your joy. You go to church and you do all these other things. You read the Bible, but you're like, man, I'm getting nothing out of this. I have no joy, no power, no nothing. Maybe you have a perspective that it's something you got to do, but it's not something you want to do. Come back to Jesus. Come back and accept his love in your life. Because that's what he wants, right? He wants a relationship with you, a personal relationship with you. He wants that with me. But you got to accept it. So I hope you do today. I hope you live for Jesus Christ today. I hope you call on him today. I hope you have a personal relationship with him day to day. That you walk with him in the midst of the day. You see, when Adam was created, right, before he had fallen, God used to come down and spend time with him daily. He wants to do that with you, even now. But you got to let him. Don't close your door to him, right? Anyway, have a great week. Hope you liked the video. I'm going to do some more, obviously. I always have been. If you like what you see, though, do subscribe, comment, message me if you have questions. It doesn't matter, right? Whatever you want to do. Have a great week.